Okay. So I had stopped at this point when I was discussing the map. I'll just go back a little bit. That when we are talking about methods, uh, it is always better to start off with a descriptive uh, analysis or what we call exploratory analysis. Okay, the advantages is that you can get a perspective, a feel of the data, and sometimes if you do the exploratory analysis, then some of the finding you can identify some potentially interesting findings, which is not always apparent in the when we do the confirmatory analysis, the regression analysis. Plus, I would say there's another advantage that sometimes when we run the regression result, not sometimes, always, it's very rare that we get very perfect results. We expect the sign of x1 to be positive, but it turns out to be negative. We expect x2 to be significant, it turns out to be insignificant. If you do the exploratory analysis, then it is sometimes possible to identify possible pitfalls or possible reasons why a variable or why your regression may not give you good results. Let me give you an example. Suppose you have clubbed education into four categories. Whatever the categories are, it's irrelevant. Let us call it E1, E2, E3, E4. So when you run the regression, you're obviously going to run a model like this, that a model something like this. Whatever your y is, this will be your intercept. So beta 1, let us say E1, B2, E2, B3, E3, right? And then you go for the other control variables. Now, suppose you run an exploratory analysis. You prepare a small table like this. Let me see. The education levels. And here you put in the mean values of y. Okay, you can see this table. Can you tell me what this table implies for the regression? Sorry, let me just change it like this. Make it E2, E4. Yeah. Suppose you want to show that with higher levels of education, your value of y will be higher. Will you be able to show this given this type of results? If you compare between the mean value of y for E1 and E2, they are nearly same, right? E1 and E3, they are nearly same. Okay. So when you run the regression, B1 and B2 are very likely to be insignificant. Okay. So what you can do is, if you want to, I mean, depending on the results, what you want to do is, or maybe suppose you get something like, or even better, something like this, 6, 7, 8, 2. Something like this. See, what you can do is, you can club the categories, club these two categories, club these two categories. Then you will see that there's a difference. The results will come out better. Okay, so if you have a look at the exploratory analysis, you store it somewhere. Once you run the regression and you get some problem, you can have a look at this exploratory analysis and you know that, okay, if I run the regression E1, E2, it will not be, there will not be a difference. E3, E4, I'm going to get wrong results. This is going to be a larger coefficient here, the coefficient will fall over here. So best is, let me club E1, E2 and let me club E3, E4. In that case, I'm going to get just a model like this. So this is actually E3, E4, and you will see that B1 is positive and significant. So often if you run the exploratory analysis, you will be able to identify that your existing coding is not correct and it's better to go for a different type of coding. Okay. Secondly, is there any outlier in the analysis? I mean, if you have, look at the range of the data, if you have outliers, then this is a potential cause of concern. You should undertake certain tests and see whether the outlier affects the results. Let me see over here. Like if you look at this, I stimulated this data and simulated this data. And when I run this, you can see that income consumption is negatively related with income. And the reason is, if you do the exploratory analysis, you can see that there's a huge outlier over here. This outlier is creating the problem. If you drop it and run the data, you see that the consumption regression is coming out fine. Income is positive and significant. Okay, so exploratory analysis is sometimes very useful. You will see that if you just do a scatter plot, you will see that instead of a linear trend, you have a non-linear trend. So then you know that, okay, if I try to run a linear trend, consumption as a linear function of income, I may not get a good fit. In that case, what I should do is consumption should be a function of income and square of income. If I see that there's a very wide variation in the data, there's no outlier as such, but the data is dispersed, huge dispersion in income, then I can reduce the dispersion by taking a logarithmic transformation. So the exploratory analysis may not give you results which are very attractive, which you even will discuss in details, but it is necessary to do it because otherwise your confirmatory analysis, the regression analysis, may be affected adversely. Okay. Now, when you come to the regression analysis, you know that association and causality. When do we? I mean, if you want to measure association, what measure should we use? And if you want to go for causality, what method should we use?
Granger causality.
Association, for association, it's correlation.
And
For
Gra-
causality, it's regression.
হ্যাঁ সৌম্যরঞ্জন, তোমার যদি ক্রস সেকশন ডেটা থাকে তাহলে কি আমি গ্র্যান্ডার কজালিটি করতে পারবো?
না, সেক্ষেত্রে তো হচ্ছে না।
হ্যাঁ। তো do you agree with Firoz's answer?
না, আমি বুঝলাম না ওর কি বলতে চাইলো।
ও বললো যে আমরা অ্যাসোসিয়েশন মাপবো কোরিলেশন দিয়ে, কজালিটি মাপবো রিগ্রেশন দিয়ে।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, সেক্ষেত্রে হবে।
Okay, so actually this is the traditional view which was held in our time, but nowadays it's being pointed out that a regression model does not indicate or test for causality. There are certain reasons why regression does not test for causality. I'll come to this. In fact, they will be part of your econometric course, I think, endogeneity. So there may be problems if you do not frame the regression model properly. The result that you will get will simply measure association between x and y. It will not indicate that x causes y.
হ্যাঁ স্যার, এটাই ভাবছিলাম।
Okay. So the important major causes for this is that one of the explanatory variables, one of the x's, may be correlated with the error term. Expectation of ux is not equal to 0. In that case, you will see that the estimate of beta is biased, and therefore you do not measure causality. So this can occur in certain cases if you have reverse causality. X causes y, but y also causes x. You have omitted variable. That is, a very important variable is dropped and which is correlated with one of the existing or included variables. Measurement error. See, there may be problems in measuring x, one of the x's, and the error in measuring, let us say, x1 is correlated with one of the other included variables. And fourth is sample selection. You have a non-random sample selection based on the sample is selected based on, let us say, high values or low values of some of the included variables. So I don't want to go into this in details because endogeneity is something that will be covered or that should be covered later on in your course. Apart from this, there are some other problems with regression. The model may be misspecified in the sense that you're taking a linear specification when it is actually non-linear. As a result of this, the internal validity, that is whether the data gives results which supports your hypothesis. Okay, so you're doing a hypothesis testing. I mean, by hypothesis testing, I don't mean you're doing a Z test or T test. It may be through confirmation or regression model also, multivariate testing. But anyway, you're testing a hypothesis, and if the model is not specified properly, then this hypothesis may be either a correct hypothesis may be rejected or a wrong hypothesis may be accepted. So what we have to see is that the data should give us the correct result. And one of them, I mean, endogeneity is obviously the most important, misspecification is another. And third is, we also have to see that, okay, we are getting a result, but is it possible for the result to be explained in some other way? So, in other words, what we are trying to do is test for the robustness of the model. So, this is something which is much more difficult, and sometimes it's not possible to test for or rule out alternative explanations. So, in that case, you should always be honest and try to identify your limitations. Presenting results, that is also very important, and that is where we find that people make mistakes. If it's a very simple regression with just one variable, you can write it in this way: enrollment equal to alpha plus beta y. Below alpha and beta, you put in the standard errors or t, whatever. And then below you write f, r square, n, so on. But if the model is more complex, you have 20, 30 variables, or you're reporting several models, 4, 5 models, models for rural India to urban India, and so on, it is sometimes better represented as a table. So if the regression line is a bit too long, don't use text or don't use the format that I've shown over here. Give a table. And always think that how can you report the results smartly? See, ultimately we are interested in coefficients that should be reported, and what else? See, if you're just reporting one variable, one model with a lot of variables, you can add columns. So coefficients, standard error, t, probability values. It's possible to give all these. But suppose you are giving the results of 6 models. So coefficient is 1, standard error is 2, t is 3, probability is 4. So that means 24 columns and one column for the variables. Is it possible to show 25 columns in a paper? Yes, you can. Font size will have to be something like 2 or 3. So that means you'll have to do some trimming. So what are you going to drop? Probability, standard error, whatever. I would say drop the t first, then probability. As soon as you drop probability, after you have written the coefficients, put in stars to indicate whether it is significant or not. Like this. See, I've got 6 columns over here. I can't really put in all the standard error, etc. So what I've done is I've dropped everything except coefficients. If possible, I would have included standard errors, but I can't over here. I put in the stars to indicate probability values. So that tells me how financial knowledge is related to my y, positively or negatively, and whether it is significant or not. See, over here I've reduced the control variable, the number of variables also. I'm mainly focusing on empowerment. Maybe you can recognize this is from Richa's work. So she was focusing on empowerment. So she has given the result coefficients only for empowerment, and then she has written control variables. Yes, to all of them. And state dummies. Yes, to all of them. State dummies, no one is interested. And I can't show it in the PowerPoint, but you can put a note over here and see that, okay, these are the control variables that I have taken. If possible, she should have, in fact, she should have also put in the model statistics over here. So you have to think very carefully how to design a proper table. Next is alignment. Be careful about the alignment. See, everything over here is centrally aligned, except for this row, which is all left aligned. Okay, it's centrally aligned. Also, it is, if you look at the vertical alignment, it is down, not central. You can do whatever you can, left align, right align, whatever. It should be uniform. It should be uniform in a table. It should be uniform throughout your paper or work. You can't have left aligned in one chapter, right aligned in another chapter. And it's very sloppy work to say that, okay, I'll do it. I'm just giving the rough. Don't do it, because you'll see that the work piles up and you're going to forget. Rounding off, that is also very important. Round off to the second place of decimal. Okay. I mean, these are very obvious things, but you will find that all of you, both of you, and even Shondipan will violate most of these rules. Okay. Okay. Now, the next thing that I want to introduce is the what we call concept maps. Unfortunately, the book that I wanted to use has been left in my library in my office. So, otherwise, I could have given you some good examples of concept maps. The concept maps are visual representation of information. They are very, very useful in your literature, in your analysis, in your literature survey, planning the work, writing the paper, setting up the entire proposal. It's basically, you can see, we use it as some sort of a flow chart. So let me show you how we use the concept map. So let us suppose that we have a research problem and we want to set up the and we want to set up the uh, research proposal. Okay. So can you suggest a research proposal, a research problem? It may not be on which what you're working. তোমরা আছো না পালিয়ে গেছো?
না, আছি স্যার।
আছি আছি
হ্যাঁ, যে কোনো একটা রিসার্চ প্রবলেম বলো না। I'm not asking whether it's feasible or not.
স্যার,
হ্যাঁ, মানে সেটা পিওর সায়েন্সের হতে পারে, যা ইচ্ছা হতে পারে।
100 days work are more successful for the poor areas. স্যার,
হুম। ওহো, তোমরা তো দেখতে পাচ্ছ না। দাঁড়া, আমি এটা লিখে নিই, দিয়ে তোমাকে দেখাচ্ছি। আসলে আমার হ্যাঁ, আচ্ছা। So what you can do is, so we just take a piece of paper and write it down. Okay. Now the first thing is, how do we measure success? What are the problems that we will face? How to identify poor areas? You don't have to write it out in proper sentences. এমনভাবে লিখতে হবে, you have to write it out in such a way that you can understand what you're doing. So you can just put a question mark over here. Or you can write how to identify poor areas. Data. What are the sources? Okay, so you put down source 1, source 2. Analysis. So let us say we know how to identify success, we know what are poor areas. Okay. So how will you do the analysis? Your y will be whether the program is successful or not, and your x will be whether the area is poor or not. তাই তো?
একদম স্যার।
আচ্ছা. So you're going to run a regression like this. This is poor, and then you are going to have controls. So what are going to be the controls? ঠিক আছে? You have to think about this. Now when you are running this, what are the possible diagnostics problem? Or rather, what is the regression method? And what are the possible problems? So you'll have to undertake diagnostic tests. আমি জাস্ট এমনি কথা কথা বলছি, ধরো heteroscedasticity, autocorrelation তো হবেই না, this is cross section data. I'm just saying this. So in this way you can write down on a piece of paper your plan of work. What you'll do, এখানে তুমি লিখে দিলে যে go to Panchayat Bhavan. এখানে তুমি বলে দিলে ওয়েস্ট বেঙ্গল হেলথ ডিপার্টমেন্ট। এইভাবে you can, in this way you can make some sort of a flow chart in which you plan what you are going to do in details. Sometimes in the case of when you are planning to do some literature analysis, it becomes very complicated. You have 40, 50, 60, more than 100 works. So what are you going to do? So in that case, you again make some sheets. Okay, remember the problem I told you about the discrimination in wages. So what you can do is, you can divide the literature. You can write a plan in this way. So these are your broad themes. Discrimination, you look at okay. এরকম করে দিলে, একটু ভাগ করে নিলে। So now what you have is you have themes. So I mean, although I'm giving you this advice, I'm sure that you will not follow it, because it's generally below our dignity. যে এইভাবে একটা বসে বসে বাচ্চা ছেলের মতো ম্যাপ করব কি করব না। But if you look at what is being how research is being conducted abroad, people actually use these concept maps and use them very successfully, and it helps to sort a lot of problems for researchers. আমাদের এখানে প্রবলেম হচ্ছে যে, এখন তো অফলাইন ঠিক আছে, বাট their problem anyway, most of the research fellows are supposed to sort out the problems themselves, and they believe that we have to do the work very quickly, show some output, and planning is not very necessary. It's possible for us to just sit down and start working, and the results will come out immediately. And when they don't come out, the data or analysis is bad, and then we get stuck. Okay. Now remember that when you are doing your thesis, you have to publish one journal paper, at least one. It's better if you published 2 or even 3, but publishing one paper is must. And part of the lecture is also about how to write a journal paper. Again, people feel that we can write it in any way that we want. Again, that is wrong. I mean, you can publish, particularly in edited books, which don't look at the quality. You can also publish in journals brought out by other colleges and so on. But if you want to publish in any standard publication, journal, believe me, it's very tough, and it's getting tougher and tougher by the day. So in that case, unless you follow certain very well-defined rules, you're going to be in serious trouble. You will be able to publish. I'm not saying that you won't be, but the quality of the publication is something that is not going to be very desirable. Okay, the first thing is title. Remember that the first thing that all people are going to do is, or your reader, potential reader, is going to do is see the title of your work. He's not going to look at the abstract first. He's going to look at the title first to see whether it interests him or not. So that means your title has to be such. It has to give the person the information that okay, it has to give a signal that this is the paper, this is the problem that the paper is addressing. Therefore, you can put very catchy questions. But when you're putting catchy questions, very catchy phrases, they look very nice. The problem is that when people search for a possible papers, your paper will not come up. Even if it comes up, they will look at your title, they will not understand what your paper is on. And because there are hundreds of paper on the topic in the internet, they're going to drop it and go on. So that means less citations for your paper. So it should have information on the study design. It should contain important keywords. It should contain what you discover. That's a lot of information, and you won't be able to cover all of them. But try to cover as much of them as possible. One good way of identifying possible words for the title is think of it in this manner that when you have already written the paper, right? So that means your literature survey is complete. So how will you search? How did you search for the other works in this area? What were the keywords that you used? Try to put them in the title. For instance, using a sleep app lessen insomnia in postmenopausal women in Southwest United States, a randomized controlled clinical trial. It's a not very attractive title. But see, the finding is given over here. Using a sleep app lessen insomnia. Your area is given, the method is given. Prevalence of tuberculosis in homeless women in San Francisco. Oh, I'm sorry. এ তুমি বেরিয়ে গেছিলে। তো again, prevalence of tuberculosis is a very simple title. But if you're going to see if people are going to search by tuberculosis plus homeless women, you have got two very important keywords. You have also given the area. Now, after colon in the subtitle, you can put in either the study design or the finding. You can put in important variables. Like suppose you want to find out that it's tuberculosis TB is more common among homeless women who come from, let us say, from a particular community. So you can put in that information in the subtitle. Now, again, if you look at the title, you see that except for the first word, sorry, এখানটাটা ভুল হয়ে গেছে। Except for the first word and for proper nouns, all the other words are in the so-called small letters. You should always use sentence case in your titles. Don't write using, see, this is wrong. No, sorry. This is wrong. This is even worse. You're mixing up small and large letters. This is horrible, you can say. But even if you uniformly and consistently capitalize all the words, even that is wrong. You should use what we call sentence case. It should start with a capital. All other words, all other words should be in small letters, except you can see United States, which is a proper name. San Francisco, which is a proper name. Okay, don't pose questions, particularly in thesis. So don't have something like, is homelessness, is TB higher among homeless women? Don't put it. It's, see, there are always exceptions to the rule. But remember, exceptions are exceptions. Don't try to create exceptions. Abstract. Abstract, again, this is a challenge because you have to sum up your entire paper in maybe 150 words, 250 words, 200 words, maximum 300 words. Some journals may require a structured abstract, in which case they give some structures. So you write background colon and then you write the background. Second paragraph is objective colon, you write the objective. Third is methods, you write the methods. Colon and then you write. Okay. This is called a structured abstract. A structured abstract helps readers to understand your work very easily. Even if your journal doesn't follow a structured abstract, follow a similar format. Just don't use the headings and write it in one paragraph. When you're drafting, keep it in separate paragraphs, these 5 paragraphs. Once you're finished, merge it into one paragraph. So, background introduction. Start with 2-3 sentences. Introduce the reader to the research area. What is known about it? Okay. So, TB, homelessness, what is known about this area? Why is the problem important? So, maybe you can say that in recent years, many of the homeless women are reporting to have TB. It has gone up to 40%. Then say, what has been the finding? What earlier literature has found? Objectives, aims. What is the study? Why did you do it? Okay. What is the method? So give your method exactly. So don't say that I've used confirmatory analysis. Say that you have used impact evaluation, you have used grandeur causality, you have used spatial analysis analytic techniques, whatever. But again, don't give too much details. Don't say I've used these methods. Don't say that I have used these variables. Okay, because again, remember, you won't have much more than 2-3 sentences to write on this. Results. What did you find? Again, don't give general results. I found that education was very important. Give the numeric data, including confidence intervals or p-values. So see that we estimated that the prevalence of TB among homeless women was not high. Say it was, give the exact value, 43.49%, confidence interval, 5% confidence interval, this and this. Regression analysis revealed that education was important, an important determinant. Okay, suppose you have used a logit model. State the odds ratio over here. Don't just say education is positively related, x1 is positively related, x2 is negatively related. Give the specifics. Finally, why the findings are important. Maybe you found something which is very important, a new relation about education, how education mediates this relationship. Bring this into account and try to relate this to what we call the bigger picture. Okay, why is it important for policy making, research? Don't say that policy steps are necessary to address this problem. Say that given that education is increasing, it means that the prevalence of TB is going to go up. Something of this sort. Journals asked for keywords, 3 to 6 keywords. The first 2, 3 should be related to your problem area, 1 or 2 on your method, and the last one should be on the region. You also have the JEL category. You also have the JEL category. I'm sure that your supervisor will be able to help you on this. So you can also check on the net. I'll show it to you. Robi Shankar Giri, the assist librarian, will also show it to you. So you can just American Economic Association JEL codes. So let us consider the paper on education. And homelessness among TB. Among TB among homeless women. So this is a problem of health. Click on health. So is it on healthcare markets, health behavior? Yeah, to some extent it is on health behavior. So you'll put I12. It relates to health and inequality also. Homeless women is inequal. There's some disparity problems. So I14. So in this way, you have to go through the JEL categories and identify which categories apply to you. Introduction. Now we are coming to the main writing part. The introduction should start with a simple sentence. The first sentence should be a short, simple sentence. Don't make it large, don't make it complex. Don't dramatize. In the first paragraph, state why your research question is important. Then, what other studies have found. See, nowadays journals generally don't have a literature survey section. So you put in this literature survey into the introduction. In that case, what earlier studies have found will be a little bit larger, 1 page, 1.5 page. Otherwise, it will be just a few lines, 4-5 lines. If you have a materials and methods section, the literature survey should go into this material part. Okay. So কি হলো তোমাদের এত নয়েজি হচ্ছে কেন ক্লাসে? Okay. After you have identified or very briefly reviewed what earlier studies have found, identify the limitations. What are the unanswered questions or drawbacks in method used in earlier studies? Then come to the research question, state it, what you're going to do. Then very short, data, findings, data and your this will be method, data, method and your findings in very short. So research question, data, method, findings, it should be in one paragraph, followed by the structure of the paper. Obviously, when you're writing the introduction, we say that you should write it at the last, once you have completed all your paper, all your work. In fact, it is always better if you start by starting from the second section. And the structure part, at least, you have to write at the last, because you don't know what you're going to write. The second section depends on the journal where you are going to publish. It can be a materials and methods section, or it can be a simple data and method section. If it's material and method, then the first subsection should be materials, the literature survey, a detailed discussion of what others have found, the research gaps, question generated, concerns about methodology, what is your own contribution and in this work, and how you're coming to the, and then this leads up to your research question and hypothesis. So as I've told you, when you're doing this, when you're making the literature survey, do try to use the Excel sheet and also the concept map. Otherwise, the literature survey is generally the worst. Analysis you can somehow muddle through. You have the results, you write very poor analysis, but you can just write something. Literature survey, it's very, very, very poorly written. Objective, question, and hypothesis. So, objective, when you're stating the objective is, see over here, this is the objective. We will examine the relationship between empowerment and intimate partner violence. Question, we want to see whether the likelihood of facing, this should have been violence. Likelihood of facing violence is higher among empowered women. Okay, so you're posing the same thing in a question form. And third is, you operationalize this. Women with higher empowerment scores. So that means you have to calculate the scores and then you have the probability of facing violence. So methods. Give the data, the source. If it is from a particular website, give the date in which you accessed it. If you are using a sample survey, what was the recruitment criteria based on which you recruited the sample? What is the sampling design? So how did you select the district? How did you select the village? How did you select the households? You have to explain this. Then state what are the variables used in analysis, how they are defined, and if you have created them, or maybe they've come from the data, how they were generated. So like, for instance, you may remember that there was a lot of questioning about the intimate partner violence. So she had gone through the definition, how this definition part is important. IPV is the violence faced by the women in the last 1 year from her husband. Okay, so she is able to give the definition. In some cases, you are creating the variable. Like there's no variable called IPV in NFHS data. She created it. You have 4 types of violence. And if you face any of these violence, you're set to face IPV. Then explore the data, summary statistics, frequency, distribution. Have a look at it. Give the sample profile. But if it's a material and methods paper section, this should come in the finding section. This should be the first subsection in the finding. Because material and method means you're discussing only the literature survey, the material that is already there, and the method, not data. You're not going to do any data analysis. But if it is a data and method section, Then you should put in the sample profile over here. Statistical method. State the regression model. Justify this. Why you're using it. What diagnostic tests will you undertake to see that your results are internally valid, externally valid? Okay. Above all, remember that people should be able to replicate your work by reading it. So once they go through your data, they should know that, okay, if I want to do the same analysis, this is how I should do it. So provide enough data for full replication. Help readers understand your method. They should be able to replicate it. You should also be able to replicate it after 5-6 years. Sometimes flowcharts, decision trees, they can help the reader to understand the data. Step 5, report the ethical concerns. So, what type of principle have you followed? Have you sought consent? Have you taken the ethical approval from the institutional ethical committee and so on? So, these are very important. Findings, so as I've told you, that if it's a material and method section, you should start off with sample profile. Otherwise, it will come to the earlier section. Initially, we discussed the univariate or bivariate results. So, frequency distributions, tabular analysis, results of t-tests, chi-square tests, and so on. Then we go to the multivariate results. Over here, just state your results. Don't discuss them. Just say that, okay, we have found that education is positively related, but income is insignificant. And relate them with the hypothesis. You started off with certain hypothesis. Say that, okay, this was my hypothesis, and this is the result that education is positive validates my hypothesis. The result that income is insignificant, well, there's a problem with my hypothesis. Tables, always above, put a table legend above the table, not below the table. Follow a uniform alignment, uniform font, round off the table to 2 places of decimal. Below the table, give the source, give necessary notes. Don't use a net format. They should be vertical lines only. Sorry, I made a mistake over here. It should be only horizontal lines. First row, top and bottom, and last row, bottom. I'll show the tables to you later on when I close the slide, not now. In the text, refer to the table. Okay, and refer to it as table 3, not the table given below or table given above. Because when you're publishing, the publisher, the typesetter is going to change the position of your table. So you're writing a paragraph and you say that as the results of the table given below shows, and you put the table. When the typesetter is setting, he finds that it has come to the last. There are just 3-4 lines. What he does is he removes the table, puts it below another paragraph, or puts it above your paragraph. So instead of below, it was at the top. And you can't do anything about it. So always refer to, in the text, refer to it as table 3 or table 4. Journals will normally ask you to just indicate the rough positioning of the table. The actual table and the header should be normally in a separate file. So in the text, we put insert table 1 here. Appendix tables, we have different serial serial numbers, so table A, B, or A1, A2, like this. Figures also, in figures you can put the legend above the figure or below the figure, but whatever be consistent. Below, put the source. So it's better if you put it above. Again, uniform font in case of graphs, label both the axes. People never do this. Compare the graph. If you're comparing graphs, axes should have the same maximum and minimum values. Okay, if you're referring to figures in the text, again, refer to the exact number over here. Put in insert figure 3 here or figure 4 over here. Figures also go as separate files. Then comes a section on discussion. So this has some clear paragraphs. The first paragraph should be a summary of what you have found. Then the second paragraph is what have others found. Third, what is your contribution? Contribution in terms of method. You've used a different methodology or database. Contribution in terms of results. In what way your findings are different from that of earlier studies. And then explain why results differ. Finally, when you come to the conclusion, start with the implications of your results. Are your hypotheses proved correct? What are the recommendations that follow? Then go to your failures. You failed to prove certain hypotheses. Okay, so see that we have seen that these results are going against our hypothesis. Then try to situate your work against earlier studies. Okay, so see that, okay, in place of unlike the earlier studies, we have shared new light and shown that education is a very important variable in, is a very important determinant in the prevalence of TB among homelessness. Then identify possible extensions. So 4 short paragraphs. Maybe you can club them. So implications of a result, identification, you can club them. But situate your study, that should be a separate paragraph. Limitations, separate paragraph. And then one final paragraph, very short, which you can club with limitations maybe. A take-home message for the reader. You have to sum up the important message of the paper in one line. And it should be something which is important. Why people should read your paper. Citations, references, quotations less than 40 words within the text, more than 40 words. It should be in the next paragraph as a separate paragraph and indented. I'll show you examples of these. Always give author, year, and page number. Citations, give author and year. So you can write according to Brown 1990. Studies reveal that the relationship may be nonlinear. Smith 20 and Taylor 2009. And remember, they should be linked to references, or one-to-one relations. So when you are citing, it should come in the references, and whatever is in the references should be in the text. Okay. You can have different styles in which you write. Check which one your journal wants to be followed. Use DOI, Digital Object Identifier, if possible. That makes it easier to cross-check. See, nowadays you will see that any reputed journal will do a run a cross reference check, whether you're giving the correct reference or not. So use the DOI, that makes it easier. If you're giving web material, state when you accessed it. Maybe you access it today, it was available. Then the people have removed it. Okay. The references should be arranged alphabetically. Same author, arrange it by year. Same author and year, put AB after the year. So I've given you some useful material over here, which I'll send it to you. Howard Wiener's book Graphical Discovery, but Belema's paper, Walked paper, these are shorter versions. In fact, Walked and Wiener are both books, while Belema's paper is a paper. So I'll end over here and I'll show you. Let me see. I don't think this has a reference. দেখো এইখানে তুমি স্ট্রাকচারটা দেখো ফিরোজ,
Sir.
ডিটারমিনেন্টস অ্যান্ড রিজনাল ভেরিয়েশনস, ঠিক আছে? এই কাজটা হচ্ছে এজ অ্যাট ম্যারেজের ওপরে। এইখানটা আমরা ডিটারমিনেন্টস অ্যান্ড রিজনাল ভেরিয়েশনটা দিয়েছি। ইনফ্যাক্ট এই পেপারটা না দেখিয়ে, এখানে এটা ড্রাফট তো, হ্যাঁ না ঠিক আছে। এইটা না, এইটা আমি দেখাবো না, আমি তোমাকে একটা পেপার দেখাবো যেখানে তোমার যদি ফোন থাকে তো ধরে নাও। হ্যাঁ, এইখানটা দেখো, আমি ফার্স্টে তোমাকে কাভার পেজটা দেখাচ্ছি। ঠিক আছে, সো দিস ইজ দ্য টাইটেল। এখানে দেখো যে একটু বেশি প্রপার নেম চলে এসেছে, এসএইচজি, দিস ইজ দ্য নেম অফ আ প্রোগ্রাম, বিহার তো স্টেট হলো। কিন্তু দেখো এগুলোর বাইরে এক্সেপ্ট ফর দ্য ফার্স্ট ওয়ার্ড আমি পুরোটাই কিন্তু সেন্টেন্স কেসে লিখেছি। ওকে, সো উই হ্যাভ দ্য অথার্স, আর কিছু কাভার পেজে থাকে না, জাস্ট নেম, institutional affiliation, email ID, and if you have an ORCID number. আচ্ছা, সেকেন্ড পেজ হচ্ছে অ্যাবস্ট্রাক্ট, টাইটেল, আবার রিপিট হবে অ্যাবস্ট্রাক্ট। দেখো এখানটা কিন্তু এরা বোধহয় 100 ওয়ার্ডসে ওয়ান এরকম একটা চেয়েছে, অ্যাবস্ট্রাক্ট চেয়েছে। সো ইউ হ্যাভ টু ক্র্যাম এভরিথিং ইন 100 ওয়ার্ডস। আর তারপরে এখানে হচ্ছে তোমার 6টা কিওয়ার্ড। ঠিক আছে, দেখো লাস্টটা হচ্ছে তোমার ইন্ডিয়া। এইগুলো হচ্ছে ডিজ আর রিলেটেড টু দ্য টপিক, প্রথম তিনটে। পরেরটা হচ্ছে তোমার মেথড, লাস্টে হচ্ছে তোমার জিওগ্রাফিক্যাল ওরিয়েন্টেশন। আচ্ছা, পেপারটা এখানে আবার স্টার্ট হচ্ছে। আগেন আই এম গিভিং দ্য টাইটেল। এখানে দেখো ইন্ট্রোডাকশন, এইভাবে। দেখো মেটেরিয়ালস অ্যান্ড মেথডস, এইখানে আমরা কিছু মেটেরিয়াল ইনফরমেশন দিয়ে দিচ্ছি। আচ্ছা, এখানে দেখো কোটেশন, ইটস মোর দেন 40 ওয়ার্ডস। তুমি দেখছো এখানে ইন্ডেন্টেশনটা কিরকম করে করা হয়েছে।
হুম
ইটস সেট ইন এ সেপারেট উইথ ইন্ডেন্টেড।
হুম
পেজ নাম্বারটা দিয়ে দিচ্ছি।
হ্যাঁ
দেখো এখানে কিন্তু ফুল স্টপ আসার কথা, ফুল স্টপটা এখানে আসছে।
আচ্ছা
আচ্ছা, আচ্ছা, এখানে দেখো a total of 6 districts were selected from the study table 1.
হুম
এখানে টেবিল 1 সিলেকশন অফ ডিস্ট্রিক্টস। ঠিক আছে,
হুম
টেবিলটা কিন্তু এখানে নেই, টেবিলটা আলাদা ফাইলে যাচ্ছে।
হুম সেটা টেবিল
কি?
ওয়ানের নিচে, মানে ওই ওই প্যারাটার নিচেই কেন টেবিল ওয়ান হলো না?
দেখো এগুলো খুব যে ইম্পর্টেন্ট তা নয়, কারণ এটা আলটিমেটলি টাইপ সেটার ঠিক করবে কোথায় টেবিলটা নিয়ে আসবে। এখানে আমি করিনি, এটা কারণ হচ্ছে এখানেও আনতে পারতাম, কিন্তু এইখানে টেবিলের মধ্যে আবার সঙ্গে, আচ্ছা তুমি টেবিলটা দেখালেই বুঝতে পারবে। টেবিলের এখানে আমরা টেবিলসগুলো দিয়েছি, কি সে বেসিসে আমরা সিলেক্ট করেছি। হ্যাঁ ওটা ওখানে, হ্যাঁ সরি, এটা ওখানেও আনতে পারতাম, জাস্ট রেখে দিয়েছি।
ঠিক আছে,
রাফ, তোমাকে রাফ পজিশনিংটা দেখাতে হবে।
দেখাতে হবে।
হ্যাঁ, কারণ মনে রাখবে যে আলটিমেটলি হয়তো তোমার এখানেও হবে না, তোমার হয়তো এখানে যাবে।
হুম হুম
এই দেখো সেই ফিগার 1 এখানে,
হুম
কিন্তু ফিগার 1টা কিন্তু আমাকে কোনো একটা জায়গাতে এখানটা ঢুকিয়ে দিতে হবে।
হুম
এখানে ঢোকানো আছে। আচ্ছা, এখানে দেখো ফুটনোট
হুম
2। আচ্ছা, একটু খেয়াল রাখো তো, 2 দেখো পাংচুয়েশন মার্কের পরে আছে,
হুম
এইখানে কিন্তু ফুটনোটটা থাকবে না। দিস ইজ রং। এখন যেখানে আমি শেড করেছি এইটা কিন্তু ভুল।
আচ্ছা,
সবসময় তোমার পাংচুয়েশন মার্কের পরে থাকবে।
ফুটনোটেও তো রেফারেন্স আসতেই পারে।
কি?
ফুটনোটের রেফারেন্স তো আসতেও পারে, আসতেই
না,
পারে, পারে না?
না,
আচ্ছা,
মানে ফুটনোটে রেফারেন্স আসতে পারে না ইন দ্য কি সেন্স, তুমি যদি এখানে ধর এখানে তুমি সোর্স, এর একটা সোর্স দিতে চাইছো, ইউ ক্যানট গিভ দ্য রেফারেন্স ইন ওভার হিয়ার।
আচ্ছা,
কিন্তু এইখানে তুমি যদি চাও তুমি এখানে লিখতে পারো, কোন একটা রেফারেন্স অ্যাড করে দিতে পারো,
হ্যাঁ,
সেটা করতে পারো। কিন্তু তুমি ফুটনোটটা দিয়েছো রেফারেন্স দেবার জন্যে,
সেটা হবে না।
সেটা হবে না। তোমাকে টেক্সটই রেফারেন্স দিতে হবে।
আচ্ছা,
ঠিক আছে, যেমন এখানে দেখো আমরা খুব ডিফাইন করে দিচ্ছি যে কিভাবে আমরা ভেরিয়েবলগুলো ক্রিয়েট করছি। দিজ আর আউটকাম ভেরিয়েবলস। এখানে রেজাল্টস ডিসকাশন এগুলো করে দিলাম। এখানে আমরা কোটেশন দিচ্ছি, এগুলো হচ্ছে ফ্রম দ্য ফিল্ড, সে কারণে আইটালিক্স দিয়ে রাখছি। এখানে একটা কোয়েশ্চেন হচ্ছে যে আমরা যখন এরকম কোটেশন ইউজ করি, আমরা কি কারেক্ট ইংলিশে লিখবো, না ওরা ধরো একটু ভুলভাল ইংরেজিতে বললো, বা অনেক সময় যেটা হয় ট্রান্সলেশন, তখন কি করব? তো একটা ভিউ বলে ইউ শুড কারেক্ট এভরিথিং, একদম ঠিকঠাক ইংরেজিতে দাও যাতে বোঝা যায় উইদাউট ডিস্টর্টিং দ্য মিনিং। আর একটা গ্রুপ বলে না, তুমি একদম ওদের ভুলগুলোও তুমি রেখে দাও, ডোন্ট চেঞ্জ ইট। তো whatever you do, you should follow consistently. এইখানে দেখো আমরা তারপরে রেফারেন্স দিয়ে দিচ্ছি। এটা ছাই রঙের আসছে, তার কারণ হচ্ছে আমরা মেন্ডেলি ইউজ করেছি। একটা পার্টিকুলার স্টাইল আছে মেন্ডেলির, মানে যে জার্নালে পাঠিয়েছি সেই জার্নাল স্টাইলটাকে আমরা ইউজ করেছি। আচ্ছা, এইখানটা দেখো, টেবিলসগুলো দেখো, জাস্ট ওপরে যে ফার্স্ট রো, সেইখানে আমরা দুটো ভার্টিক্যাল হরিজন্টাল লাইন ড্র করেছি, আর লাস্ট রোর তলায় একটা ভার্টিক্যাল লাইন, আর কিন্তু কোনো লাইন নয়। যে কোনো জার্নাল পেপার দেখবে ঠিক এই ফরম্যাটে রয়েছে। ঠিক আছে, সব কটা হচ্ছে রাউন্ডেড অফ টু 2 places of decimal. I prefer central alignment, কিন্তু কেউ আবার যেটা করে এটাকে লেফট অ্যালাইন করে দেয়। রাইট অ্যালাইনটা করাটা কখনোই ঠিক হবে না। এখানে দেখো আমি কিছু এখানে নোট অ্যাপ্লাই করেছিলাম, ABC, হোয়াট ইজ এফ্লিট, সেটা এখানে ডিফাইন করা আছে। এবং দেখো আই এম গিভিং দ্য প্রিসাইজ ডেফিনেশন, মানে ফিমেল লিটারেসি, এফ্লিট মিনস ফিমেল লিটারেসি না, এখান থেকে একদম ফর্মুলাটা দিয়ে দিচ্ছি, সো দ্যাট ইউ ক্যান রেপ্লিকেট মাই ওয়ার্ক। এখানে যেমন দেখো স্যাম্পল সাইজের ইনফরমেশন দেওয়া আছে এইগুলো। এখানে দেখো সেই একই প্রিন্সিপাল চলে যাচ্ছে, এখানে ফার্স্ট রোটা না রিপিট হয়ে যাচ্ছে, সেই কারণে তোমার মনে হচ্ছে অনেক জায়গায় দিচ্ছি। রিগ্রেশনটা দেখাই কোথায় আছে, এখানে তো আসলে রিগ্রেশন নেই, ওটা করতে পারবো না। এই ক্ষেত্রে দেখো যে আমরা কনফিডেন্স ইন্টারভেলটাও কিন্তু দিয়ে দিচ্ছি। দিস ইজ ভেরি ইম্পর্টেন্ট ইন মেনি জার্নালস, ওরা একটু লিমিটটা দেখতে চাই। প্রবাবিলিটি ভ্যালুটা বাদ দিয়েছি, সেটা কিন্তু আমি এইখানে স্টার দিয়ে বসিয়ে দিচ্ছি। ঠিক আছে, কোএফিসিয়েন্টসটা তো ইম্পর্টেন্টই, কিন্তু স্ট্যান্ডার্ড এরার, দিস ইজ ভেরি ইম্পর্টেন্ট, কারণ এই ভেরিয়েশনটা অনেক রিভিউয়ার দেখতে চায়। আর নোটে আমি লিখে দিচ্ছি যে এই পি ভ্যালুর ইম্পর্টেন্স স্টার দিয়ে কিভাবে দেখাচ্ছে। ঠিক আছে, এখানে দেখো সামারাইজ করে দিয়েছি। ইয়েস, মানে আমি জাস্ট এই রেজাল্টটাই আমি দেখাতে চাইছি বা ডিসকাস করতে চাইছি। ফিগার্স তো এই একটাই আছে এরকম, জেনারেলি ট্রাই টু অ্যাভয়েড পিকচার্স।
আচ্ছা,
তো ঠিক আছে, তাহলে আমাদের তো নেক্সট
সৌম্যর ওখানে বৃষ্টি হচ্ছে বলে নেটওয়ার্ক পাচ্ছে না, এই জন্য বেরিয়ে গেছে আর কি।
আচ্ছা, তো যেটা হচ্ছে যে নেক্সট মঙ্গলবার আমাদের পরীক্ষা চলবে। নেক্সট মঙ্গলবার কবে হচ্ছে? 25 তারিখ হচ্ছে, না 18 হচ্ছে।
18 তারিখ।
18 তারিখ, তারপরে হচ্ছে 25। তো আমার পরীক্ষাটা নেই। 25 আমাদের এই পেপারটা, দিস ইজ সাপোজ টু বি সেশনাল। সো 25 তারিখে একটু তোমরা দেখে এসো,
আচ্ছা
আমি পরীক্ষাটা নিয়ে নেব।
আচ্ছা
আমি একটা শিডিউল করে দেবো, 3জনার 20 মিনিট করে, একটা 15 মিনিট করে একটা ভাইভা নিয়ে নেব, অ্যান্ড ইট উইল বি ফলোড বাই, এবং তারপরে আমি ওই লজিক প্রবিটটা স্টার্ট করে দেবো।
আচ্ছা।
তো